Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? New York Giants football. Let's go. You see the thumbnail, Micah McFadden. Let's not waste any time. Micah McFadden. How good is Micah McFadden? Or should I say, how much better is Micah McFadden? That's the theme of this video. And if you are a Micah McFadden fan, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you're already not subscribed to the channel. If you're a New York Giants fan, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty with this. So Micah McFadden, off the bat, is definitely a better player than what he was in 2022. His sophomore season, way better than his rookie year. And even though we're in the age of analytics, everybody has the PFF rankings and grades and stuff like that. When you strip all of that away, because we didn't have that forever, or we haven't always had those statistics available. When you talk about the eyeball test, when you're just sitting in your house, sitting on the couch, and you're watching these football games, you knew, and it was clear that Micah McFadden was a better player than what he was in his rookie year. And the best thing about that is, outside of the eyeball test, the numbers also show that Micah McFadden improved. Now, going back into the 2022 draft, I didn't know who Micah McFadden was really. I had to go, once we drafted him, I had to go back and watch some of this Indiana tape. And shout out to the Big Ten at the time. The Big Ten had highlights from the season for Micah McFadden, and he looked phenomenal. He looked like the kind of linebacker that if he can do what he did in college in the NFL, you might have got a steal of the draft. Also in that same draft, we picked up Darrian Beavers, another middle linebacker. And I was, well, first off, I knew more about Darrian Beavers because him playing with Cincinnati with all those guys there. But I also thought that Darrian Beavers was, the better player. Now, going into the preseason in 2022, we saw Darrian Beavers pop. We saw him pop. He looked good. I even put up a little quick clip of I think it was a Patriots game where he made two phenomenal plays. His season's cut short, tears his ACL. Micah McFadden's right there. And again, he did not have the best showing. Well, he didn't have a good showing at all in 2022. So fast forward to 2023 in the offseason, we pick up Bobby Okereke. We add him to the mix. We throw Micah McFadden next to him, and all of a sudden, Micah McFadden is popping. He's popping. But before we get into that 2023 season, remember what Wink said early after OTAs and after minicamp going into the training camp of 2023. He said the guy that's most improved is Micah McFadden. And at the time, I couldn't believe it, didn't want to believe it. But guess what happened? Wink was right. Wink was right. Now, is it a scheme thing for Micah McFadden? We can get into that. Is it because he was more familiar and more comfortable with the defense in the second year? It could have been that too. But I'm just thinking he's getting more comfortable with the game speed of the NFL. He got stronger. He started trusting himself more, and he started looking like the guy, a little bit like the guy who played at Indiana. So let's get into these stats real quick. I do have the comparison between 2022 and 2023. And again, this is just to show you that, yes, your eyes didn't lie to you. Micah McFadden did get better. So the overall grade in 2022 for Micah McFadden was 38.7. That's bad. 38.7 is bad. That year, he had a total of 435 snaps. So that's a good amount of snaps, especially for a rookie, especially in this Wink system. Playing with Jalen Smith, that's a whole other thing. we won't discuss that later, but that's just something I wanted to point out. His run defense, 51.4. His pass defense or pass rush defense, a 66.3, which is okay. And then his coverage was a 30. One thing that stands out to me was, I believe, the first Minnesota game in 2022, where I think it was TJ Hockenson just pretty much crossed him up and beat him for that touchdown in pass coverage. And like I said, it was plays like that stood out and made me sour on Micah McFadden, at the end of the 2022 season. So again, with this and just predeterminations of how I felt about Micah McFadden, I wasn't really expecting a lot. And so when Wink said he was the most improved, I took it with a grain of salt and said, it is what it is. Now, moving to 2023, again, outside of the eyeball test, the grades also show that he was better, that he improved. So again, 2022, 38.7 overall grade, jumps up almost 30 points to 65.6 overall grade in 2023. That's a fantastic jump. So imagine if you get half of that jump now, you're talking about a guy that could be borderline one of the maybe a top 25, top 20 linebacker if he goes up just half of the way he went up before. When you look at the run defense from 2022, 51.4 to 68.1, another decent jump. Pass rush, he goes from a 66.3 in 2022, drops down a little bit to a 64.2. It could be the use, or it could be that his total number of snaps went from 435 to 736, and that affects the averages. And then lastly, the coverage had a big jump. He went from a 30, like I said before, to a 57 when it came to his coverage. So he improved. He got better. The things that he was the weakest at, again, overall grade jumped up almost 30 points. Coverage grade jumped up 27 points. Those are big jumps. So what does he have left? And then what does the Shane Bowen system mean for Micah McFadden? How is he going to be used? Is it going to be a little bit different? How much different? How much different is it going to be? We don't know for sure because we haven't seen it, but we know that Shane Bowen also runs a 3-4 defense. We know that he runs a heavy zone scheme. He likes to get pressure up front. The linebackers have to be able to move freely. Now, if Micah McFadden can just, if Micah McFadden's assignment is just to flow and make tackles, he can do that all day. He can do that all day as long as he's solid with the tackling. Now, another stat that we wanted to talk about, and one of the biggest question marks for Micah McFadden, is he missed a lot of tackles in 2023. That might be just one of the categories that he actually went down in. But again, he played almost, 301 more snaps than he did the previous year. So he had more tackles. In 2022, he missed 5 tackles. In 2023, he missed 25 tackles. So that's a jump of 20 tackles. But again, he's playing 300 more snaps between the two seasons. Some things like that happen, but you can have almost a 20% missed tackle rate, and that's what he has right now. Almost 20%. You have to improve on that. Now, here's the thing with Micah McFadden. One thing we know about Micah McFadden, he is there to make the play. He's always, more than likely, he's in the right place to make the play. It's all about finishing. Now, it could be tackling technique. It could be strength, things like that. But those things can be worked on. Instinct is there. Being in the right place is there. Finishing is something that you can absolutely work on. So let's talk about the tackles. And again, going from 2022 to 2023. Solo tackles, 35 in 2022. Up to 71 in 2023. That's plus 36. Forced fumbles. He had 1 in 2022, 0 in 2023, but he did have a couple of fumble recoveries. Sacks stayed the same. He had 2 in 2022, and then he had 2 in 2023. And I already talked about the missed tackles here. Now, when I think about potential and things like that, Bobby Okereke is the Mike linebacker. How often is Micah McFadden going to be on the field? We already know Shane Bowen is used to playing, with 3 safeties. You also have Isaiah Simmons on the squad. What kind of hybrid safety, linebacker, edge position is he going to play? And also, we know that the 3-4 base is traditional, but there's a bunch of hybrid lineups that you're dealing with in this new NFL, scheme, or NFL game, I should say. So, for me, as long as Micah McFadden is working on his tackling, I believe the game is already slowed down for him. Working on his strength, he can get stronger. He's not the biggest guy. For his frame, he looks pretty solid, though, but he's 6'2", about 235 pounds. Look, Bobby Okereke is about 6'1" and 235 pounds, too, but he's a lot quicker than Micah McFadden is. But if Micah McFadden can get strong, I don't think he can put too much more weight on his frame. But if he can get stronger, I think he's going to be a solid linebacker for the New York Giants. I do think he's going to get better. I do think there's a lot more room for improvement there. I'm not saying that I'm expecting a crazy jump, but if he can progress just a little bit better than the numbers that he had in 2023, again, with definitely cut out the missed tackles, I think he can actually be a good New York Giants linebacker, for years to come. And we have Bobby Okereke, I believe, for another 3 years. I think it was a 4-year deal he signed, so we got him for another 3 years. And to have him in the room, have Micah McFadden next to him playing with a guy, and they can grow together, that's fantastic for the New York Giants. To have a guy like Darian Beavers, and this is a hope for Darian Beavers, to gain that experience behind those two guys as well, so that when his number's called, he can go in there and make plays too. I think this is a bright future for the linebacker role. And when you think about the New York Giants, and I said this in the previous video, the Bobby Okereke video, when you think about the New York Giants, the history of the New York Giants, it's all about solid linebacker play. And Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden are on the right path right now. And if you're throwing a guy like Darian Beavers, the depth behind that is an unknown. Is a Carter Coughlin. I forget the guys. Deontay Johnson is another guy we just drafted. Darius Morsau too. There's some depth behind there, but we don't quite know exactly what's going on behind those two guys. So it's going to be a fun training camp, in my opinion, hopefully a fun training camp. Hopefully we can get those live practices like Dable was talking about with the Lions and the Jets. Need that. I can't wait to see what these guys do with the pads on, because again, this is 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. Nobody really getting busy like that. Once the pads come on, once they put the pads on, then the pads start popping, then we really know what's going on. And the guys like Darian Beavers, Micah McFadden, the thumper guys, Morsau, those guys, they get to show you really what they're about. So that's going to be my video about Micah McFadden. I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.